guys, it's Luke here from the Tradie Marketing Agency, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of building and automating your sales system. You see, as business owners, we are always the bottleneck to further growth. Like if you're still on the tools yourself, then you can't be working on the marketing. And if you're doing the marketing, you can't be working on, say, the admin or the HR. And if you're doing the admin and the HR, you can't be working on the sales. So kind of like the name of the game is to fire yourself from every position you're in. And you fire yourself by finding somebody else who's competent, who enjoys it, and is good at it to take the role that you're currently doing. And that's all well and good for I think probably probably the easiest parts to do this with is the actual work side of things. So by work I mean the actual hands-on physical trade things. So whether you're a painter like me, painting the houses, or if you're a tiler actually doing the tiling or the concreting, right? So because you can actually hire people with trades. It gets more, I would say, perhaps like a bit more tricky and complicated as you go up, but you can definitely do that. So many of you probably have an accountant or a bookkeeper. These are all examples of that. I think probably one of the biggest ones that gets a lot of people, like a lot of business owners, stuck feeling like they can never leave their business is sales. Because like sales is such like a core part of the business, and it requires a high level of expertise, understanding rates, costs, risks, and all like the factors that go into the sales process. But really, you need to work on building a way for the sales to be able to be done by somebody else who doesn't necessarily have years and years and years of in the field experience, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, if you can like come up with standardized pricing for certain things, like for example, I'm just going to use painting because I'm most sort of familiar with it, but like say for example, painting some doors. Like say if you got some new doors, you paint it on both sides. What is the price for that? And for us, it's probably about $150 a door. So if I had somebody who was coming to do some sales with us, you could be like, okay, cool. Well, I want you to quote the doors in this house. And then it's like, cool. They would literally just go around and count the doors. And then it's like, if there was 10 doors, it's like, cool, there's $1,500 for 10 doors. And you don't need any super special level of mastery to do that. But you've got to just keep on building that process out until it's comprehensive enough that somebody could actually be a full-time salesperson or part-time salesperson for you. And then at that point, that's an extra level of freedom that you've moved to. So what are some of the ways you can do this? Because there's a lot of different factors, but probably the best method I've found is to come up with what's called your production rates, right? So production rates is different to say like floor plan rates. Like for example, floor plan would be like, say for doing painting, but like kind of like square meterage rates, right? So you'd be like, oh yeah, it's like $22 a square meter, right? So there's a dollar sum added to a measurement, right? Which is fine. There is a huge problem with that. It's that, when your costs go up and you need to change things, you've got to go through and recalculate everything manually, and that can take a huge amount of time. What production rates is they're similar, but it's based on a time aspect, right? So rather than saying like $22 a square meter, it might be like 15 minutes a square meter, right? And why this is much more superior is that in trades our primary cost is labor. So if you're paying your guys $30 an hour, and then you need to up them to say $35 an hour, and then your charge out rates go from like say I don't know $60 an hour up to 70. All you do is you just change the one metric, which is your charge out rate, to say 70, and then all of your pricing across everything gets updated all at once. Um, and yeah, so that's the process. So for everything you do in your business, if you're an electrician, it might be like, doing downlights. Like, how much do you charge per downlight? And rather than giving like a dollar figure, first work out the time aspect it takes to change a downlight, and then multiply that by your charge out rate. And then do this for every single thing in your business. If you're a renderer, it's like rather than charging like square meter of render, work out the time per square meter of render that you're doing, and then it's going to be like a lot easier to build that out. And yeah, like when you've got a sales system like this, like a common objection is like, oh, but like not every job is the same, right? And it's like, right, well, and you're right, like not every job is the same, but you have to like work out a level, with your pricing, where like 80 to 90% of the time you're winning and you're hitting that spot on, right? Because if you don't do this, you are resigning yourself to forever being trapped in your business and not being able to move beyond it, because you will always be the bottleneck, or unless you train somebody who's super 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 skilled and they can do hyper individualized customized things, but you will win much more work if you build a sales system. And the other cool thing is, like, when it's a system, if you do a job and you notice you really lost money on that job for whatever reason, rather than blaming the individual person or things like that, you can go back to the system and be like, okay, cool. What would I have to tweak about the system in order to, you know, make money on it? And then it becomes a less of a personal thing and more of an objective thing that you can work on. So it's also an amazing tool for increasing profitability in your business, because just like a little mechanic, you can just sort of, make little changes here and there, and it gets, yeah, more and more efficient over time. It takes a bit of time to set up, but it gets more and more efficient over time, and you'll make way more profit, and you'll be able to scale that much more effectively. The other thing that I'll add to it is that when you do production rates like this, you'll actually have the estimated time allowed for the job. So, you can take, the sales sheet, and then go to your guys and be like, okay, guys, so I've got 23 hours, allocated to this job. If you get it done in under that time, I'll give you a small bonus or something like that. So it can be also a great team management tool if you've got effective, like sales and pricing and stuff with it. That's all for today. But yeah, if you guys would like any help with your marketing, I run the trading marketing agency. So also I've built a digital agency that helps you with your websites, with your Google ads, with your SEO, all that kind of stuff. If you would like a hand with that so that you can bring in more leads for your business, feel free to reach out. All right. Talk to you soon. See ya.